This Equipment World video is brought to you by Chevron Delo 600 ADF Ultra Low Ash Diesel Engine Oil. It's time to kick some ash. Hey everyone, welcome back to Equipment World. You're watching The Dirt, the video podcast that's geared towards bringing you discussions and news based around new equipment in the industry and just general happenings in the construction world. I'm your host, Brian, and today's topic is a discussion about some of the dynamics at play that are going on with our labor shortage here in the skilled trades labor market. So we're all familiar with the fact that you can't find good employees. It's just impossible to find new employees that are worth anything in the industry right now. And there are a couple dynamics at play to that. The first one that we're all super familiar with is the fact that the education system in this country for the last 50 years has been pushing secondary education, college, like crazy. It's the only way you're going to be successful according to all of the academics. You can't be successful in the skilled trades. You have no earning potential in the skilled trades. And as a result, you have everyone coming straight out of high school, going straight into college, and there's never even a glance in the direction of the skilled trades. I would love to say that this is getting better, but it's not. As I've mentioned before on here, I have a private YouTube channel called Diesel and Iron that I focus on getting guys into the skilled trades and giving them some basic skills so that they have something to kind of hit the ground running with. As a result, I've been able to talk to a lot of these young guys that are coming out of high school that want to get into the trades, and I'm getting a feel for what they're experiencing on their side of the table. And it's really been a fascinating discussion. But before we get into that, I want to take a second to tell you about the sponsor of this video, Chevron Lubricants. Protecting your diesel engine and its exhaust aftertreatment system has traditionally been seen as an either-or proposition when it comes to choosing the engine oil that's going to protect your system. And that's exactly why Chevron spent more than a decade of R&D work developing a no-compromise formulation. Now, I don't have to tell you why a clogged DPF is bad news, but here's the real kick in the pants. 90% of that ash clogging up your DPF and then upping your fuel and maintenance costs, it comes from your engine oil. You might be thinking, why don't they make an engine oil with less ash in it then? You'll be happy to learn that Chevron agrees with you. They've developed a new ultra-low ash diesel engine oil that is specifically designed to combat DPF ash clogging. Delo 600 ADF with OmniMax technology cuts sulfate ash by 60%, radically reducing the rate of DPF clogging and extending the DPF service life by 2.5 times. Before you had to choose between protecting your engine or your aftertreatment system. Now you don't. Delo 600 ADF with OmniMax technology. It's time to kick some ash. The first thing I've learned is 100% schools are still pushing college all the way. It doesn't matter if it's your guidance counselor, your teachers, or your parents. All fronts are telling you, go to college right out of high school. It's the only way you'll be successful. That's continuing to be a problem for the skilled trades across the board. You know, this channel is geared towards construction specifically, but we all know that whether you're a pipe fitter or a welder or a mechanic, you cannot find new people that are coming into this field fresh, ready to start work and start a career. This is the fundamental problem in this country, is the fact that we're pushing college as the only route to be successful. But we're all aware of that. The really fascinating thing that I've found through my discussions with these young people is the dynamic at play where you have the old timers and the majority of the industry saying that no one in the new generation wants to work. And you have this new generation that's coming out of high school that they want to get into the skilled trades, but they don't have a generational aspect to getting into the trades like a lot of us had. What do I mean by that? Let's back up a second. So the world that we've traditionally known in the construction industry is that you have a family member, whether it's a father or a grandfather or an uncle, or even just a family friend. You have someone that you've known that has been in the skilled trades. And again, let's refer to construction specifically for this channel. You know someone that's been in the construction industry. You've grown up being in the seat of a backhoe or sitting on the floorboard while dad or grandpa operates the machine. So you understand the dynamics that are happening on a job site. You understand some of the basic skills before you ever set foot on the job site for your first day. That's the traditional way people have gotten into this industry. They have a generational tie that sets them up, gives them an expectation, and then you start your first day even though you've been on the job site since you were 6 years old or 8 years old. That's no longer the case. A lot of these guys I'm talking to are coming fresh out of high school. They've never had to do any real manual physical labor before. They've never had to work out in the elements. Again, because the education system was pushed the way that it was, they had to spend all of their time inside working on book stuff and working on their grades so that they could get into a good college. They don't understand what they're stepping into when they set foot on your job site for the first time. They don't have a dad or a grandfather that's been in the industry. They don't have an uncle that's taught them the ropes before they even set foot on the job site. Why is that? Well, it's because our generation, my age group, is now the parents of the new generation coming out. And what was our generation taught? Go to college if you want to be successful. So instead of our generation going into the skilled trades and giving that generational tie to continue to pass down the lineage of being a construction worker, instead what you have is an entire generation that's coming out of high school right now that they don't have a clue what to expect when it comes to setting foot on a construction site. So let's talk about some of the dynamics at play when these kids set foot on their first job site, because this is where it really gets interesting for me. So you have these kids that have no expectations of what the job is going to be like. They show up for their first day and they're hit in the face with the fact that this industry, and we all admit that this is the way it is. Let's not try to polish it, guys. We yell and scream when you're doing the wrong thing. When you're costing the company money, you're going to get yelled at. If you're in the wrong spot, you're going to get yelled at. And so these kids who have no idea what to expect spend their entire first day, if not their first week, if not longer, because again, they have no fundamental building blocks to go off of setting foot on this job site. They spend their whole introductory phase getting yelled and screamed at. Instead of, we all in the construction industry who have been here doing this for 20 plus years, we all tell them to thicken up the skin, toughen up, you can't be a sissy. The reality is these kids are under the impression that because they're getting yelled at consistently, they're doing such a poor job, they have no business being on the job site. So they quit. Not because they're quitters, but because surely if I'm getting yelled at and screamed at this much, I'm that bad that I need to go find another career that I don't suck as bad at. That's the logic there. But instead what happens, and this is the weird dynamic that we're in the middle of, instead what happens is you have the old timers over here saying the new generation is worthless, they don't want to work and they just quit, they're sissies, they don't have thick skin. The opposite side of the spectrum, because we're talking on two different wavelengths here, the opposite side of the spectrum is coming in and going, I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. Everyone's yelling at me. I must be terrible at this. I'm going to go find another career. And that's this weird disconnect that we're in the middle of that's really playing a huge factor into why there is a labor shortage. It's not only the college aspect, which collectively we're all in this together. We have got to stop sending everyone to college and giving these kids the false impression that that's the only way you can be successful. We can all agree on that through all of the skilled trades. However, we also need to come to an understanding that the way we have traditionally taken in new employees is not working with the newer generations. And the viewpoints that we have and the preconceived notions we have about the newer generations are also hurting our new employee intake. We have to change our expectations as employers. We have to generationally shift the way we think about bringing on these new kids, and we have to start communicating in a different way. The burden isn't just for those kids to toughen up. The burden is also on us as an industry to come down and meet them halfway at their level and explain to them the expectations, explain to them the way communication works on these job sites, and give them at least some sort of a block that they can jump off of as they enter into the industry. It's really interesting to me. All of these dynamics at play, it's really fascinating because having the YouTube channel, I get a very unique perspective where I both communicate with contractors, but I also communicate with these new kids that are just trying to get into the industry. And seeing this disconnect has been quite fascinating for me. So this is kind of an initial start to a discussion that I would like to keep going on future episodes. In fact, I'm going to be interviewing Aaron Witt from BuildWitt on next week's episode, and we're going to get into this just a little bit of this weird this weird disconnect that we have in the industry right now and how it's really hurting bringing in new people and new blood to the industry. So I hope this has been helpful, maybe a little insightful. I'm sure I'm going to ruffle some feathers with this one, which is awesome. Let's have a discussion down in the comments. As always, I hope this has been a little helpful, and we'll catch you guys next week on The Dirt.